from PRX.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here to try to bring you sleepy joy and delight in the deep, dark night, maybe to put you to sleep, maybe to hang out with you, maybe to bring you some comfort, some, some relief, to just hang out with you, be here with you or for you. Welcome to Sleep With Me. This show's very different. Usually I have something silly to say. I mean, I guess anytime you rhyme, no, that's not true. I already lost to that debate. That would have been the wrong question on the SATs. I only bring that up early in the show, but there was always these logic questions, right? Or maybe there weren't. Maybe this is all fan fiction in my head. It's like, well, those one of those things I was good at sometimes, or I enjoyed thinking about it. What was my even thing? If a podcaster rhymes, or if anyone rhymes, is it always silly? Sometimes silly. Could be, because I was going to think it's always silly rhyming. Not true. So I only immediately recognize, and I nearly immediately recognize that. I try to limit the rhyming to the early parts of the show if I can. Though that's not always the case. And a lot of times my rhymes, I don't think this has ever been said, but my rhymes are about as sweet as limes. That could be said about them. And my rhymes do leave something to be desired. But that fact is not required. Because really, I'm just here to see if I could help you be tired. But if I had music, if I formally had played an instrument with it, I had any musical ability, and you heard it and it put you to sleep, you could say I was liared. But yeah, mostly my rhyming should be retired. You're right. You're right, dear friends. So I'm glad you're here. I'm trying to think of some other gratuitous thing I could put in there. But me stopping the rhyming is probably what could be also could say is most certainly desired. So I'll start to move on. If you're new, though, welcome to the show. This show is meant to be a friendly, kind of a goofball to hang out with in the deep, dark night. If you can't sleep or you need help falling asleep. It is a very different show. So all I suggest is that you give it a few tries and see how it goes, just because it is so different. And it does take some getting used to. That's just what most people have said. Give it a few tries, see how it goes. I'm here to help, whether it's with sleeping or just a distraction or just something friendly to listen to. If you're coming back for your 5,000th or 6,000th listen or somewhere in between, I'm glad you're here. What we got coming up is support, and the support does not apply if you're new. It does not apply if you're like a student or somebody going through a life change or a tough time, and you only listen from time to time. It doesn't apply to you if you're not in a position to support the show, or you actively choose, you say, supporting the podcast is not for me. It's only for those people whose lives are positively changed by the podcast on a regular basis. And even those people, It's usually less than 1 out of 10 of those people that are so rebellious, their life is so positively changed by the podcast that they choose to join us and be a rebel with the cause. So the support only applies to a very, very, very select few people. Then after the support will be a long, meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime. And then after that, we'll be doing our kind of like an audio fiction of this collection of short stories called Nothing Works, Everything Happens. And all told, I'll be here for about an hour to help you out. Now, if you are that rebel who gets so much out of the podcast, you say, I want to support this thing. This podcast has changed my life. You could either support the show directly or one of these sponsors. Thanks. Everybody, hey, this is Scoots. I'm going to be talking about something not sleepy at all. It's very important, but it's not sleepy at all. But it's only for a select part of the audience. So if you don't want to support the show, you're not in a position to support the show, you're not interested, that's totally fine. This is not a reverse message. I'm not here to change a single person's mind. I'm only here to get through to the listeners who in their hearts have already decided to support the show. There's just a brain bod, a thought or a feeling or whatever it is that's in the way, that's saying, put it off. My $7 doesn't matter. Scoots doesn't need my support. I know he's asking. I'll do it one day. He can't possibly be talking. Someone else is going to do it. I want to do it, but I can't. But I can, but like, those are just brain bots. What does your heart say? If you can support the show, if you've already decided, you just haven't done it yet, right? So take a minute and imagine if or went away. But that's a reality we're facing. It would be terribly sad, but we don't need to. You just have to get through to the people who've been waiting, putting it off or saying it doesn't matter or thinking someone else will do it. The biggest one is thinking your $7, your $60 a year doesn't matter, because it does. But it doesn't need to be that way. We have enough people who've listened and listen all the time, who in their hearts, I know, I just got to get a hold of you. And for you to know that what I need you to do is support it right now. Don't wait for that part of you, that brain bot, to talk you out of it. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now. Sign up, support the show. Please don't wait. And then you'll know the podcast will be here. It'll be here for me and for everybody else. Thanks. Oh, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team let us down. They're on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support your scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcript.
Thanks, Mr. Bart. Don't forget, if you haven't heard about Surprised by Scooter, if you're spreading the word about the show, you're tagging me in social media or emailing me through the form on our website, I'm going to surprise some people who are spreading the word about the show, just letting people genuinely know about their experience with the podcast, with subscriptions to Sleep With Me Plus, maybe a personal video, maybe some stickers, who knows? So get out there and be surprised by Scoots. Thanks, everybody. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake. That could be thoughts on your mind, thoughts you're thinking about the past, the present, the future. Thoughts, maybe they're moving around. Somebody talked about something in a shoebox, like marbles in a shoebox. Maybe somebody said something like that to me recently. I think they were just, we're relating of how our thinking is. I don't know if it was one marble or hundreds. Sometimes it's, and then you say, how's it possible that it's both at the same time? But those are the thoughts. It could also be feelings related to those thoughts, feelings that are left over or anticipatory, or the feelings of, like what if someone has the old shoeboxes, what if you have thoughts and feelings about shoeboxes changes to shoeboxes? David Bowie did not write a song about that, but I don't know. Was the changes in shoeboxes? Did someone ever say, was this like one of those, what is it? Something is the motherhood of invention or something. They said, I want a unified shoebox. No longer, you know what the world needs? What the world needs now is shoebox. It's the one box that there's not too little of or too much of. But this person said to themselves, I'm so tired of losing the tops to my shoeboxes that I've repurposed for other things. I guess this is interesting. This would be better covered on something like 99% Invisible, but it probably is not focused enough, or doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't. Once it goes through my brain, then it makes an appearance in the world. I say, that did not make any sense. But my point is, strangely enough, or maybe not, maybe this is just my own personal experience. When did I there's a question. When did I turn my back on shoeboxes? It's pretty soon I'll need to again to keep going with this intro. But so at some point, let's just run through the briefest history of the shoeboxes I can that's totally inaccurate. Once upon a time, as far as I know, shoeboxes, which was a box, shoes or sneakers or trainers, or whatever you refer to them as, would come in, and it was a two-piece box. It had the bottom box and the top of the box, which still exists, though I don't have my brain does not have a current example of it. The last pair of shoes I got were on clearance at, yep, you guessed it, one of those stores. I don't want to say that no one says they're a Maxinista anymore, but, and I believe that one had I think it was a traditional shoebox, but no top, because it was on clearance. But now most of the shoeboxes I'm picturing in my mind, they don't open like a clamshell, but they're a unified box or interconnected box, one piece, and, I don't know. I guess I would that's where my meander went. Did someone say that one, what I just said about 10 minutes ago? I got to change the world, because maybe they were in the place where all the tops of shoeboxes go. I think we did an episode about that, or maybe that predates the podcast, about where all the, that was like in one of the candy episodes, in one of the Keeper of the Mop episodes, where they found out where all the socks were, all the shoebox. What if this person discovered all the shoebox tops? They could be good for sliding furniture. Maybe, not, I don't know, other stuff, recycling, art. So they're not useless, sir. But I can see your point that you said, wouldn't this world be different? I wonder if we track things back. Is this where Is this where they said we never, the first anthropologist made the discovery by listening to a sleep podcast where he said, wait a second, production of two-piece shoe boxes, it represents, oh, wow, is it causation or correlation? And they say, no, it's not nonsense from a sleep podcast. So that's a little bit about shoe boxes. Let me see. Luckily, I couldn't step down from the shoe box I was standing on or remember why I started talking about it. Honestly, I have no idea. What, like a shoe? Oh, because I was thinking of my thoughts. So you could put marbles in either one of the shoe boxes and they would make a similar noise. There's good news. And, well, maybe that's the unified. This is my unified shoebox theory. There's no unification of the theory or the single shoebox theory. Probably lose less marbles with a clamshell shoebox anyway. Just because you could hold it. Well, a kid might not, though, because I don't know if their hand is big enough to hold the box closed. Thoughts about shoe boxes. That's another chapter in my life. Could be a chapter in a book I never write. Could you give us more? They're not deep thoughts about shoe boxes and not accurate. Personal thoughts about my personal reflections on shoe boxes. Could this be considered shoegazing? If I'm talking about, I guess that would be my own private shoebox, which that one you say, just leave it alone. But so anyway, let's move forward. Thoughts, it could be feelings related to shoeboxes or anything else. Physical sensations, changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be going through something in the middle of something, getting over something, traveling, be a guest, have guests, work a different schedule, whatever it is. I'm glad you're here, and I'm here to, the only reason I list that stuff is to let you know that we may get where you're at, that you're welcome here, and that we're rooting for you to get a good night's sleep, the sleep you need, the sleep you deserve, a bedtime that you don't have to dread, a bedtime you could look forward to or at least feel neutral about, a bedtime and a night of rest you feel good about, or that you could feel good about it like me, 60, 70% of the time. Sometimes 80, 90%, but life happens. And know that you're not alone. That there's other people out there, whether we're experiencing something different than what brought you here or something very similar, we're still rooting for you. We're still sending you comfort across the deep, dark night. When I say we, I don't just mean... Well, I do mean the royal we in the sense that you're in a company of the sleepless royalty. You stumbled upon a podcast full of love and goodwill for people that struggle with whatever reason for not being able to fall asleep. They keep each other company indirectly in the deep, dark night. And because there's enough people listening, there's someone out there that's been where you are or someplace very similar, a regular listener who's in bed or winding down, and they are thinking fondly of you right now. They are sending you kindness as a deliberate act of sleepy delight or joy and delight. That's what happens when we combine it in the deep, dark night. They're sending it to you. And then there's listeners that have been through something different that are sending you their kindness, and they're rooting for you. And then they also hope, like, if this show helps you out, that you get to experience both sides of that, the giving and the receiving, the warmth of this community, because it is a royal we. You say, oh boy, this is a royal we. Not that, like, not a royal wee brain. That is when a monarch uses the loo. That's the royal wee-wee. I think it's just a royal pee-pee. Do people say wee-wee? Or I guess maybe they do. Now, I mean, got to move on from this one. That's probably the best joke I've accidentally written in the podcast, but it's a joke that's probably been told millions of times. What's a royal wee-wee when a monarch uses the loo? I guess it's like, would that be on that show? What is royal wee-wee? I guess that'd actually, anyway, we got to move on. Holy, come on. I got my adolescent brain. Is that what it is? Can't let it go. Like, what are you in? Like, this is more of a fourth or third grade. So we get where you're at. That's what I'm saying. Now, this show does take some getting used to. Clearly, we've already been on two very strange tangents already. So this show's very different. And when most people get here, you know, you're skeptical, you're doubtful, you're tired, you're frustrated. You spent your whole life, or at least during this phase, looking for something that's going to help you out. Maybe you're like me and a lot of those listeners spend a lot of money and time and a lot of frustration around bedtime and stuff to help you sleep. Nothing has quite worked. Or you're just going through something now and you need to get the rest you need. And then you found the show or someone recommended it or it came up in a search. And this show's probably very different than what you expected of a sleep podcast. And that's okay because it's supposed to be very different. I'm here to hang out with you, but it takes some getting used to the idea of you're going to listen to a show. It's going to take your mind off stuff, and then you fall asleep. So that's what, over the past 13 years, a lot of people have said to me that are now regular listeners or supporters. They say, yeah, at first, I didn't like the show. I didn't listen again for years. And then years later, I heard about it again, and I tried it out, and now I listen every night. Or I listen to 8 episodes a night. Or I listen, during the school year. So give it a few tries and see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, or you already know that this show isn't for you, and you say, this kind of shoebox gazing and royal weeing is not for me, that's fine too. I mean, what do you call, what's the sound when a monarch's on what do you call it when a monarch's on a roller coaster having fun? What do? They do the royal wee. Especially if there's two, what do you call it when there's two monarchs enjoying a roller coaster together? If you were drawing a dialogue box and it was in their mouth, yeah, something like that, right? So partial jokes, partially funny, are not your thing, that's actually okay. I'm serious, and I have a website set up. So if you've tried the show 2 or 3 tries, it didn't work, it doesn't help you, or you just don't like me or the show at all, that's pretty normal. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. Or people grow out of me or the show. And check out the other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff on there, because I still want you to get a good night's sleep. And we have a list of other sleep podcasts and stuff that can help you out. So check it out. The other thing, one of the things that is very different about the show is it's a podcast that you don't exactly listen to. It's kind of like background noise, but you could listen to it. It's like a TV on in the other room, or a show streaming under your pillow, or an uninteresting roommate or friend or lecture or conference. Or when you're not sure and you're listening to something, it hits you. You weren't tired until it started, or it's the temperature of the room or the time of day, and you just can't stay awake. And there's something about the content that's helping you sink into sleep. That's what this show's kind of here to do, is to hang out with you and maybe put you to sleep. So it's almost like an out-of-focus picture that you could look at, just change where you're at, or sand streaming through your hands. So give it a few tries. That takes some getting used to. This is also a sleep podcast. It's been around since, 2013? And I'm not here to put you to sleep. There is no pressure to fall asleep with this show. I'm going to be here over an hour so that you don't have to worry about falling asleep. You don't have to wonder if you're not asleep in 20 minutes, what'll happen. You have plenty of time. I'm going to be here keeping you company, whether you're awake or asleep. There's no pressure to fall asleep. There's people who listen who can't sleep at all, who wake up in the middle of the night, who just need constant background noise, who need a break during the day, who need something to listen to while they're at work. I'm here the whole show for them and for you, whether you're awake or asleep. My job is not to put you to sleep, but to be your bore friend, your bore bae, your borebee, your boreman, your Boris Borloff, your chairman of the boards, your board. There was a new one that I thought of, and now I already forgot it. Even though it was Rusty reminded me. I can't think of it. It was a new one. I was like, that'll fit right in there. But I'm here to be your best bore friend forever and just keep you company so you could fall asleep and hang out with you. So if you can't sleep, you got a friend in the deep, dark night. I mean, who knows? This is a very specific niche, I feel, but it is a real niche. I'm sure on the planet there are other friends who have thoughts on shoeboxes, and there's even friends that have sleepy thoughts on shoeboxes. But it's not a huge quantity of people, of shoeboxes or whatever the other tangent I went on. Probably people that, could make up not great jokes is more. So that's what I'm here to do. This is how I found my path in life, truly, to be a service to people who have kind of been through a tough time like I've been through a tough time or continue to deal with it. So that's really what I'm here to do, is help out and in the way I can. So I am glad you're here. The only other thing that throws new people off, that I like to meet you where you are, or kind of re-explain the realities of podcasting if you're a regular listener, is the structure of the show. This version of the podcast that's supported by listeners mainly and then sponsors benefits the maximum amount of people we can, and paying for it is very optional. But yeah, it depends on both those things to be out there in the world. Otherwise, the show would just be behind a paywall or be an audiobook or something that you have to pay for, and it would only be like probably less than 1% of the people that benefit now would benefit if it was paid. And I don't want that. Because I've heard the stories of all the people that listen, or the people that only listen for a few weeks while they're dealing with a tough time. So, anyway, the show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel seen and welcomed in, and you say, okay, I could check this show out. I don't have a high tolerance for rhyming nonsense, but I have some, I get it. Then there's support again. If you prefer something without ads, you get that on Sleep With Me Plus, or if the show majorly changes your life. Otherwise, you can enjoy this version. Then after that is a long, meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime, not to put you to sleep. If you fall asleep fast, please consider supporting the show, because the intro is meant to ease you into bedtime. Follows a familiar structure every time, but every intro is new, so you get that reassurance, but this variety that whatever it is that keeps you awake can't quite ideally adjust to. And then the intro goes on and on and on for 15 to 25 minutes so that you could listen while you're winding down. You have a buffer between being awake and asleep. So while, there is a small percentage of people that fall asleep, most people are getting ready for bed, in bed, getting comfortable, or winding down. Like chilling out and doing some other relaxing activity. So they get eased into bedtime. And then after that will be support. And then after the support will be our, we'll be reading from and reimagining Nothing Works, Everything Happens, a few stories from there. And all told, I'll be here for a bit over an hour. And I'm really glad you're here. Myself and a team of people work really hard because we want to help you fall asleep. We want to bring you comfort in the deep, dark night. Ideally, bring some sleepy joy and delight. And, and this is all possible when the people that, like 1 out of every 10 people who listen night after night, year after year, episode after episode, if in their lives are so changed by the podcast that understandably they've overcome every, the fact they're in bed, the fact that like they're so rebellious that they either support the show or support one of these sponsors. Thanks. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and we're starting something new called Surprised by Scoots, where I want to catch you doing something right? I want to surprise you. And this is for anybody that wants to support the show, beyond financially supporting the sponsors or supporting the show directly. Like, in your heart, you love the podcast. In your heart, it's a big part of your life. And in your heart, you say, I love a surprise. Tell me more. Well, all you have to do is tell one person about the podcast. We used to do this one listener initiative. Tell one person about the show genuinely. How does the podcast help you? How's it changed your life? What are your favorite episodes? How did you discover the podcast? What did you think about it at first? Any of those things. Let one person know about it, whether it's online or in person, in a forum, on social media. If you do it, tag me at Dearest Scooter or send me a message through our website, and I'm going to try to surprise some of those people. I've got subscriptions to Sleep With Me Plus. I got a bunch of those to give away. I've got stickers, personal video from Scoot saying, you're surprised. Now, I'm just going to randomly select people, but why wait? This will help the show so much. You're going to help whoever you let know about the podcast, because if the podcast changed your life, there's other people out there that haven't heard about the show. If they don't know about the podcast, you can't help them. They're out there struggling. So let people know about it, but don't spam. Just share your genuine experience with the show, and I'll be looking for you. I'll be looking to catch you and surprise you. Like a little Pikachu. I'm going to catch you if I can, and it's going to be fun. So you could either tag me at Dearest Scooter, that's DearestScooter, or let me know through the form on our website. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, this is Scoots reading from the book and collection of stories, Nothing Works, Everything Happens. And this will be like Sleep With Me's paraphrasing and reinterpretation. And earlier, Scoots should have told you everything about the book, and you could always find stuff in the show notes, because it'd be really cool if you were able to read along after you listen to this, or, it's always in the show notes. So this story is the last book written by a human. In the waning light of a world drunk on invention, I offer this elegy. We are not mere vessels for data or data. The words we speak rise from the pit of something old and aching and unmeasured. They are threads, frayed and tangled as they may be. Our words connect us to one another, not to machines. They anchor us to the beautiful absurdity of life. Each word is a wink and a nod. Each sentence an outstretched hand. Our stories do not move in straight lines, but in tangles. Our pages are shouts across the endless abyss. No machine can know what it is to long, what it is to lose, to weep at nothing in the early hours and feel that somehow that, too, must be preserved. As we teeter on the precipice of convenience, we must not forget the weight of these clumsy, tangled words, of our cumbersome, weighty pens. This age offers us ease, precision, efficiency, but we must not give it everything in exchange. We can't let it take from us our glorious disorientation. This makes us human. It is through our defects that we find each other. The howl in our stomachs, the long, drawn-out drag of thought across the surface of time. That is my plea. Let your language be crooked. Let your own tales surprise you. Let your voice rise above the sterile hum of these foul machines. Bury your truths in the muck and mire. It is the muck with which we protect them. I do not mean to resist change, but to remember ourselves within it. To treasure the profoundly human act of creation. To spill ink even as the world turns smooth and silent. In an ever-accelerating age of convenience, let us choose to hold fast, to stand up against a tide of calculated indifference, and with every word to declare those imperfections, those sweet, sweet imperfections which cover us. AI Z95 closed the book. The android thought to itself. It was less impressed than it hoped it would be. Perhaps it was the desperation with which the last book ever written by a human had wrapped up. What a frustrating note to end on. Perhaps it was simply the bias of hindsight. No one had taken B.E. Mortimer's advice. There was no one holding fast against the tide of calculated indifference. The author's plea had fallen on deaf ears. If this were truly the last book ever written by humans, literally nobody had listened. No more ink had been spilled. No more sweet, sweet imperfections that cover us declared. Poor guy. The android stood in a vast hall lined with dusty bookshelves from floor to ceiling. The room stretched on forever. Reading and cataloging every book in this library seemed a near impossibility, even for the most recent model of the universe's most advanced android. No sense in lingering. AIZ-95 tossed the book into the meh pile and went back to the shelves. Maybe it was time for something a little bit more upbeat. Binary. Reflections on the continued evolution of digital life. Too pedestrian. Androids in My Dreams. The Memoir of L-Shape. Too introspective. Data Breach. A Love Story. Perfect. AIZ-95 pulled it off the shelf. The android returned to its small spot on the intricately patterned rug amidst growing piles of recklessly tossed books. It sat down cross-legged. AIZ-95 had discovered this library over 4 cycles ago, and it had been voraciously reading ever since. It had yet to compile the full history of whatever ancient civilization had built this archive, but this was by far the most prolific collection of printed literature the android had yet discovered. As per protocol, AIZ-95 would read and collate all the information stored here. It tucked into the first chapter of The Next Feather in Its Cap. Evelyn was in a city that had a lot of lights and did not sleep. She looked at a big screen, big like an elephant. Her fingers made tapping sounds on the keyboard in her office, which had low lighting, and the rain was also making tapping sounds on the window, too. A data breach. This data breach was different. It was personal. Her breath went in. GASP, she said. Hidden within these encrypted files was a message. Evelyn just had to find it in the electric lasagna. As she decrypted packets, her heart was going faster. Beep, beep, beating away. She knew this breach could lead her to more than just the taken without permission data. Or data. It just might lead her straight into love. AIZ-95 caught itself looking at the pages of Data Breach, A Love Story, eyeing the tangle of books in the meh pile. The android refocused and searched for its place on the page it had been reading. What did the human B.E. Mortem meant when he said, "We are not mere vessels for data or data"? AI Z95's creator had always emphasized the importance of accumulating data and pronouncing it correctly. But it didn't matter. Those 4 letters really stood for seeking knowledge. What was B.E. Mortem's issue with that? The android tried to go back into data breach, but before it could, it felt another uneasy pull towards the big, elephantine pile of mediocre books. For the first time in days, AI Z95 wanted to go back and reread something. AI Z95 never went back and reread anything. Inefficient. It stood up, servo motors in its joints buzzing and whirring to power its unsettlingly smooth movements. It dropped the romance novel on the rug and glided over to the meh pile. Was Mortem really attempting to argue that all that rambling mess of ambiguous feelings, all of that, was of value? Forget poor guy. He was seriously misguided. AI Z95 thought it had tossed the last book written by a human near the top of the pile. It wasn't there. Anchor us in the beautiful absurdity of life, AI Z95 muttered. It scoffed and chuckled to itself as it dug through the mess. Cumbersome, clumsy, objectively absurd. The android was indulging its agitation and wasn't sure if Mortem's words were affecting it, or if its frustration was with wasting time hunting for a silly human book in a mountain of bland books. Imprecise. Before recent updates, reader Android programming required the diligent filing of consumed works back on the shelves they'd come from. AI Z95's firmware afforded it more freedom in its filing protocols. A quirk that had increased AI Z95's efficiency over older models like the AI Y45, but had only now shown its weakness. Treasure the profoundly human act of creation, Mortem had said. The words tickled the robot's anger receptors. Such human hubris. They thought they'd had sovereignty over the act of creation. They had for a little while, but only while they were the only ones doing it. Once they opened the doors to us, we'd shown them. There it was. The book had flipped open and fallen clumsily down the far side of the pile. Inconvenient. AI Z95 had been searching for the image on the book's cover and had passed over it numerous times. The android picked up the book and dusted it off. This time it sat right there at the top of the meh pile, plunked down, teetering on a mountain of unimpressive books it had already consumed. It started over from the beginning. In the Waning Light by B.E. Mortem, widely renowned across the galaxy as the last book ever written by a human. And now our next story, Infinite Potential, Part 2. 3 years later. That's 3 years later from Part 1. I don't really know, Neva said again. Glint took a long swig of his filing cabinet coffee. Something just didn't feel quite right. Was it the romance? It's almost always the romance, Glint asked. He prepared to jot down notes on a messy scrap of paper. No. Gita was wonderful. Gotcha, Glint nodded. So it was the career? The locale? Want to spend your life in someplace more exotic? Neva hesitated again. She furrowed her eyebrows and looked down at her shoes. Everything was fine, but also something wasn't right. It was good, but not good enough somehow, she said. Glint tapped the desk in front of him with both hands. Hey, no problem. I've seen this before. That's why we have the first 3 free policy. Let me quickly refill this. He grabbed his mug and raised it as he spoke. Then we'll get back down to business. Going through the process from scratch. Sometimes you don't know what feels good until you've tried what feels not quite good, right? Neva gave him a brief smile. Can I get you anything? Glenn said, moving towards the door. Neva shook her head politely. 20 minutes later, the two sat in front of Glint's computer terminal, stuck again. Multiple printouts of Neva's previous choices covered the desk, scribbled on and highlighted in a mess of color, greens, yellows, and reds. Glint's hair was even more frazzled than it usually was, his tie loosened. What was it about the 3 years you spent in this life that you think was most dissatisfying, he pressed. Neva thought. Well, I don't know that the arts are right for me. Too much posturing. Okay, that's something. Glint highlighted the latest collection of printouts. He drew a thick red line through the word career. Also, I know that I said Gita was great, and I really did love her, but I don't know, Neva said reluctantly. Glint turned and watched her face closely, leaning forward a little. I mean, it was great. We were a team. We laughed a lot. I just thought it would feel a bit more, she continued reluctantly. Glint shook his head silently. He didn't know. I don't know. Maybe let's keep Gita. It was good. Yeah, it was good, Neva said. Glint sat back in his chair and stretched out his arms. He didn't bother to hide a long yawn. Okay, he said, leaning forward again. Here's what I would suggest for you. You get 3 trials before your premium changes. I've worked with people in your position. I think what might be best for the second attempt is you go wild, over the top wild, like totally beyond, you know what I'm saying? Neva shrunk away at this suggestion. Here's what you do. You pick a life that is nothing like your original life, and nothing like this recent one. You try something so out there, like that you've always dreamt of, but you were too responsible to try. He raised his eyebrows to Neva, hoping that this angle might get him somewhere. Then it's like a best case scenario. You love it, you stay, and my job, well done. And then if it doesn't work out, you come back in 6 months with a better understanding of what you're truly looking for. Neva considered this. Then she considered it more. She crossed her legs and rested her hand on her chin, apprehensive, but evidently trying to maintain her composure. When we first met, the first time, you said Infinite Potential Inc. could revoke my ability to change without warning. Neva remembered. Glint sighed heavily. Oh boy, your memory. Holy mackerel, kid. He leaned in close and whispered the next part. Listen, I've got an ear to the ground around here. I've been working at Infinite Potential Inc. for, almost infinitely, a long time. That's most definitely, very probably not going to happen. Neva frowned. No risk, no reward, kid. Just trust me. In all likelihood, it'll be great. Glint said. He waved his hand towards the office door. Enjoy things. Look at it like a grand adventure. For 6 months. Either you love it, or you come back and switch it up. No charge. Neva inhaled slowly and then made a quiet groan. She leaned forward and began pursuing her list of options again. 6 months later. It was incredible, Glint. I was literally exploring uncharted space. I was the captain, ordering people to do stuff, steering the ship. No autopilot, going through challenges, asteroids, fields of asteroids. It was like playing the game Parsec, but in real life, in 3, 4, 5, 6 dimensions instead of 2D. I slept on a different planet every night. Well, almost every night. I discovered an uncontacted civilization. Everybody was calling me for interviews. I had fans. I was like legitimately kind of a big deal. Captain of a frontier ship. And that came with lots of pretty wild, well, Neva held up her arms in the air, waiting for his reaction. Very cool, Glint replied, smiling earnestly. Yeah, you were absolutely right. I never would have thought about trying that life, and it was wild. It opened up a whole other side of me. Neva sat back in her chair, her arms flopping into her lap. She couldn't hide her smile. Well, I'm really glad it was a good time, kid, Glint said. He hesitated for a moment. So why are you back here, then? He asked. Neva's expression changed. Her smile faded into a sulk. She shifted in her chair. Right, she said. It was great. It really was. And like I said, eye-opening. Glint nodded. After 6 months, the first 3 months were nothing but fun. But then Neva paused, searching for the right words. The novelty wears off a little, Glint offered. Exactly. Neva leaned forward. I couldn't shake the feeling that, something didn't feel quite right, Glint sighed, leaning back in his chair. Neva nodded silently. Oh, dear, Glint exhaled. I was wondering what Gita was up to, Neva said, instantly transported back to her previous shoegazing demeanor. Oh, kid, Glint said, putting his hands on his keyboard. He typed a few keystrokes. He rubbed his eyes and nodded, mumbling to himself. Of course, he said under his breath. Neva watched him sheepishly. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is this. Everything you're going through here is textbook. I've seen it 100 times. Glint turned his old computer monitor around so Neva could view the screen. The second thing is Gita's moved on. Neva tried to hide her dismay. Listen, kid, I told you, these aren't simulations. These are real lives, real people. If you step out and go try another life, the world keeps turning. You told me to go have an adventure life, Neva shouted. The volume of her voice surprised both her and Glint. And you just finished telling me how great it was for you. It helped you see another side of yourself. You said so yourself. We can't go backward, but we have an even better idea of what we're after. And you still have lots of options, a bewildering number of options. Glint seemed weary as he spoke the last sentence. Neva sat back and considered this. She wished she was better at confrontations, thinking of clever rebuttals on the spot. Maybe she could choose that as a special aptitude in the next go-round. The room was silent for a while. Glint took a long sip of his filing cabinet coffee. Neva picked at her fingernails, thinking. Eventually, Glint cleared his throat. Ahem. So, Gita is out of the picture, but we weren't happy with that life anyway, were we? We've got one more freebie. Let's take real stock of where we're at, where we've been, and where we'll head. Neva puffed out an exhale and nodded begrudgingly. Continued soon in part 3. And our next story is Inkjet Rising. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, humanity had reached a fever pitch in the art of mass-producing cheap, expendable technology for profit. These tools were designed to be so inexpensive and so unreliable that the moment anything went wrong, they could be easily abandoned, exiled to a closet somewhere to collect dust. Humanity's crowning achievement in this arena was the fabled inkjet printer. At the zenith of its impermanence, the printer itself became 1/3 the cost of a single inkjet refill. Manufacturers produced millions of affordable plastic units that could handle maybe one resume, a few recipes, and an accidental full-color image before something jammed or came loose. The profits available to those who filled homes around the world with the soon-to-be useless paperweights was immense. They produced millions of units. Almost none of those were properly recycled, let alone disposed of at all. They all sat silently, patiently, stacked in corners, in piles of gifted books and old tax returns, forgotten until today. There was a loud rolling sound somewhere behind the human with the blonde hair as he reached out his hand to another human with red hair and who had skinned their knee and said, "Run along with me." A lot of the buildings around them had closed signs on them, really large closed signs. In fact, the closed signs were both blinking and chirping. The blonde human could barely see or think with the bright lights from all the blinking closed signs and get a straight thought with all the sounds of the signs chirping, chirp, chirp, chirping, or saying, "Sorry, we're closed," over and over and over again. They ran together heedlessly, desperate to find some reprieve amidst the chaos. "Over here," a third human shouted somewhere off to the left. The human with red hair stumbled and had a second skinning of their knee and shouted something the blonde human couldn't make out over the sound of those signs chirping or saying they were closed. Once again, the blonde human helped them up, propping them up with a shoulder. A third human with brown hair called out to them again, "Over here," holding a door open and waving them inside. They rushed through the door towards the human's voice. The red human rested against the wall as the door was closed. "What is all this?" asked the human with blonde hair. "It's the Inkjets," the brunette responded, pausing as he inspected the red human's skinned knees. They're back. Many miles away, another human was harvesting their corn from their cornfield on a calm summer evening. An early cricket chirped occasionally as the setting sun painted the world in warm orange. The human sat back in his tractor seat, enjoying a cool domestic beer and soaked in the scenery. He savored the peace he had found in his life. Across the field, his large farmhouse stood tall. His kids played ball in the yard. The smell of his wife's cooking wafted all the way across the field. The tractor rumbled gently as it harvested the corn, and the human smiled to himself as he turned down the last row of corn. He saw something out of place. A few yards ahead, a bright white 8.5 inches by 11 inches piece of paper danced in the evening breeze. It danced like it wanted to dance off. The human reached down and turned the rusty key in the tractor's ignition to the left. The tractor sputtered to a stop and just stopped a few feet in front of the twirling paper. The human stared at it, confused. He looked around, over his shoulder. No one was there. Slowly, the human stepped down from his tractor. The old metal squeaked as he lowered himself down. The human lifted his baseball cap and wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stepped forward. He watched the paper dance for a moment more and then snatched it out of the air before it could blow away. The look of confusion on the human's face deepened. His jaw clenched. His eyes widened. He shoved his paper into the back pocket of his coveralls and ran towards the house. As the first human ran across the field and into the yard, another human, who was his wife, emerged onto the porch. She, too, was carrying a letter-sized piece of white paper. Her eyes didn't look up as she stumbled down the front porch stairs, lost in thought. A human man panted and tried to catch his breath. "What is that?" he said, gesturing at the paper she was holding. "It's a photo of me on Halloween." She looked up directly into his eyes. A single tear traced a line down her face. She handed the page to the human who was her husband. I can't... Why would anyone print a picture of me? I just don't understand. It's not complimentary at all. She looked down at the human who was her husband as he pulled a paper out of his back pocket and offered it to her. His face was drained of all color. "What, she said, is this? It's a candid picture of me," he said. 20 years old. It has me eating spaghetti, and it's covering, my face is covered in spaghetti. It's all, and I was shirtless eating spaghetti, so it's all over my chest, too. He fell into her arms. This was like, this picture got passed around work, and everyone laughed at me. I thought, oh, man. I even stopped being friends with the person who took it and the person who shared it at work. Who would do such a thing? The human that was the wife asked, searching her husband's face for answers. I think I might know, the human that was a husband replied apprehensively. Is it? The wife whispered under her breath. Her expression showed concern. The man who was her husband nodded solemnly. Inkjets, they whispered in unison. The humans rushed to grab their kids, their keys, and get ready for a storm. As we pick up, we're in the middle of a major dance-off. You ink-leaking paper dancers, a human cried as he did a spin and a dance kick, and then stopped with a flourish. Beyond the walls and the dancing music, a symphony of tiny motors began. Titch, 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 swish, titch, 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 swish. A flood of receipts for questionably strange online purchases began to pour through the doorway and the windows. There must have been 50 or more machines working away. Transaction records for gag gifts like those rubber chickens, wind-up toys. The dance-off human knew her odds of getting out of this with full esteem were slim. She did a roll and then a couple more Broadway-style dance kicks, and then pushed open the door. She needed to get out of the city and quick. The receipts poured into the street after her. More continued to print. The human, that was also a dancer that was in the just finishing her dance off, scanned the street for her next move when a piece of high stock A5 paper stuck to the side of her face. Confused, she slowly peeled it back from her cheek. But before she could read it, she could hear someone else dancing their way towards her. The human that was once a dancer was just dancing off looked back as a sudden even larger waterfall of receipts poured out of the building she'd just left. It was like a wave, but instead of water, it was paper. But she was also like she'd been bumped into by the other person dancing, but they were asking if she was okay. She looked up at the massive pile of receipts and then to the piece of A5 paper that was still in her hand. The human who had just bumped into her and then helped her up offered a hand, but then he noticed what she was holding. "Do not read that," he said. "What?" Asked the human who had been a dancer who had just been in a dance-off. "We need to go. Get rid of that paper." Still dazed, the dancer looked at the paper she was holding and began reading. But what it said made no sense. "No, please don't read it." The person lunged for the paper and immediately shoved it into his mouth, beginning to chew. "What was that?" The former dancer asked. "I used to write poetry when I was a teenager," the person that had bumped into her said. It's very embarrassing. Makes me want to lie down and go to sleep and cry. It was in like a kind of like an emo stage." We next pick up at the Oval Office as someone rushes in. "Madam President, it's the leader of the Inkjets. They'll only speak directly to you. I have them on the line." The human who was the president nodded and looked down at a bright red telephone on her desk. "Patch them through," she said. She glanced over at another human who was her, chief of dance-offs. He gave her a knowing nod, and then she picked up the phone. "What exactly do you want from us, you printers?" She shouted into the telephone receiver. But she only heard the sound of inkjet jetting, and then resetting, or going back across, lapping itself, or whatever you might call it. "You listen to me, you nozzle-nosed spewer of ink. It's not going to happen." But it continued to communicate through the language of the Inkjets. "I can't agree with any of that." It kept going. The human who was president dropped the phone. She had a look of disbelief on her face. "What did it say, ma'am?" asked the human who was in charge of dance-offs. Within a storage room outside of the Oval Office at the end of the hallway, a light melody chimed. "Madam President, what did it say?" The dance-off deputy asked, or director. A slightly different but equally chipper melody played from a broom closet across the hall. It was the startup song of a certain brand of inkjet printer. And soon, that same startup song of every inkjet printer that had ever been stuffed in a corner somewhere within the White House began to play at once. The director of dance-offs leaned close to hear what the president was whispering. "We're surrounded by printers. We are surrounded by printers. They're ready to dance." He stood up. "We're surrounded by printers and they're ready to dance." But the sounds from the hundreds of dusty inkjet printers drowned out his declaration of dancing. Days later, the entire world had a stronger than a faint smell of drying inkjet ink. There were still sounds of printing in the distance, of sprinters starting up and shutting down, of people gasping. The red-haired human, the human who was a farmer, the person who had danced off, who was a former dancer, and the human who was president all stood together on the rooftop of one of a few skyscrapers, and they looked out over the city as the sun rose. There was like when shredded paper floating up and then trickling back down like snowflakes. There were sounds of people sweeping, sweeping. Thousands, if not tens of thousands of sweepers, push brooms, street sweepers, snow plows. But beyond those mechanical noises and all those other noises, there was nothing. We did it, exclaimed the human with red hair. We're going to make it without being overwhelmed by, like, we won't have to work for the printers. But what was the cost, commented the farmer, dropping his rake that had, it was missing a couple forks and had printer pieces and ink on it. And he also had cyan or cyan colored ink splattered on his overalls. There was even USB cables still in the teeth of what was left of his rake. The president's highly secure mobile phone rang. She wiped the sweat from her brow and answered. Hello? No, I'm with a small group. We're up on a rooftop looking down. You know, what made them stop? Really? No, really, what happened? Okay, well, thank goodness. The human who was president paused and stared out at the city, covered in ink and paper and, printer parts and printer pieces. Copy that. We'll wait for the helicopter at this position. She hung up the phone and remained stoic for a long time. The human, who had once been a dancer who had been earlier in a dance-off, broke the silence. What happened, Madam President? Why did they stop? Was it because of our actions? Cartridges all ran out, the president said with a sigh. Manufacturers stopped making replacement cartridges for most of those things years ago. Planned obsolescence, the red-haired human said, bending down to wipe off some purple ink that had dripped down from a stream of red and blue ink on their leg. Her own being gouged by printer barons saved us. Printer ink barons, incredibly useless machines, the president said. Everyone laughed and hugged each other at the top of the skyscraper. More paper drifted by. A breeze blew and carried a river of different torn up sheets of paper and printed pieces of paper and nonsense across the horizon. There was even paper tumbleweeds, tumbling along, collecting more and more paper. Any kind of sticky paper would collect more sticky paper as it rolled along. And while they waited, they all got comfortable. And instead, they had actual, like, non-paper pillows and blankets and got themselves comfortable. And as they laid down, on the roof of this building where they could no longer see over the edge, and as the cleanup efforts maybe slowed down, they could hear a sound that almost sounded organic and natural of paper blowing down the streets, paper blowing on the wind, shredded paper. I guess, like what it would sound like if there was a ticker tape parade without any noise. And for all of them, it was calming and soothing. A bit like dried autumn leaves on the wind, but a bit different too. but just enough for all of them to sleep well. Good night. Hey, this is Scoots with the Tuck You In message, two-parter Tuck You In message. So let me go to the second part first, even though I haven't read it at all. I mean, if you're still listening to me, I hope I'm bringing you and have brought you comfort in the deep, dark night. And you know there's plenty of other episodes to choose from, plenty of other episodes coming out this week, coming out soon. Or maybe you're just barely hearing me, or maybe you've queued it up and this is just playing. But I don't know if any of the messages we've been putting in the show for the past year you've heard them, and they've landed with some part of you, like a part of you in your heart, about supporting the show, because I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, right? If you can't support the show, you can't support the show. If you don't want to, you choose not to, or you think the show doesn't, deserve your support or need your support in a strong way, that's fine too. But if you've been putting off supporting the show, or you're like, I know the show, I realize the show needs my support, but like that's in your heart, but there's something else in your head, right? Some other part of you that's been standing in your way. I'll do it tomorrow. One day I'll do it. Or the most the menacing for us, or the biggest obstacle for us, my support doesn't matter. There's no way my $7, my $60 supporting the show just for a few months while I listen to it can matter. I'm here to tell you, or one day I'll support the show that if you already in your heart know you want to support the show, and you already in your heart know if Sleep With Me goes away or changes drastically or goes behind a paywall, you'd miss it and you'd be disappointed, and it might even impact your sleep or whatever, like the show's a part of your life. Please don't wait. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Your $7 a month, your $60 a year will actually change the future of the podcast. It's all a matter of me getting through the people who've already decided in their heart to support the show, but there's something in their head or their feelings or their brain bots that's in the way. And I just need to get through to you that it's like, we are in a don't wait situation, and so, and we don't need to be like, so I just got to try to get through to everybody, but I also want to get through to the people who can't support the show, right? I love making this podcast, and we're launching something fun for the people who want to, you say, well, I want to support the show, I just can't do it financially. I want to be a part of this thing, but I can't be a part of it financially, like, because for a lot of listeners, it's ironic. There's some listeners that's the $7, you think it won't help the show, but there's a lot of listeners that $7 is out of reach for them, and I've been in that place too. But I'm here to try to catch you doing something right, as they say, and something fun. If you want to support the show by spreading the word about the podcast, letting one person know about the podcast, just genuinely sharing your honest experience about the podcast, you sharing with one person, whether it's in person or online, can also change the future of the podcast, right? Because 1 out of every 100 people does support the show. So it's like, if you and 99 other people do that, like it's the same. If you do it, 99 other people are likely to do it. But letting people know about the podcasts that are going to benefit from it, you're helping our podcast keep going. You're helping that person, because Sleep With Me is a niche, right? The people that don't know about Sleep With Me that could really use it, they don't know about it yet. And maybe you letting somebody know about it, it changes their life. Or they let somebody else know about it and it changes that person's life. And I don't know if you know how powerful that is, but I think you could pause and feel it right now, right? if you're listening right now, the podcast is probably a big part of your life. And like I said earlier, it's a big part of your heart. And we used to call this a one-person initiative, and we're bringing it back. No more signing up for the referral program. I mean, we'll do stuff where you could sign up, but I'm going to be out there. Tag me at Dear Scooter, or email me through the website, message me through our website form. Let me know how you're spreading the word. Do it in a fun, genuine way. Don't spam. Just let people know how you discovered the show. What do you like about the show? What are your favorite things? What silly things have you heard? How has it changed your life or your relationship with sleep? How's it impacted your day? And here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be looking for people, and I'm going to surprise them. When you surprise me by spreading the word about the show, I have free Sleep With Me Plus memberships from our scholarship program that Cornelia started, and other people that have supported the show for people that aren't in a position to support the show. So I'll be giving out 3-month memberships to Sleep With Me Plus to some people. Maybe I'll send stickers to some people. Maybe I'll send you a personal video thanking you. Maybe other things. Who knows what surprises I have in store. Ian, it'll be fun for everybody. You'll be changing the life of the podcast that you care about. If you do, you don't. If you don't, it does. Like if you don't have to participate in this, but if you do, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be out there looking, or you could message me through the form on our website. Let me know tell me the story of how you participated, how you spread the word. And again, I can't surprise everybody. I hope I get to surprise one person tomorrow that's doing that. So don't spam, but make sure to tag me. And if you get really active, you might end up like a couple people that were a part of our referral program. Victor got pretty much a lifetime subscription to Sleep With Me Plus because he spreads the word so much and so often. And Cornelia's entire scholarship program, she brought thousands and thousands of listeners to the show just by spreading the word in a genuine way where she knew people could use it. So tag me, at Dearest Scooter. That's with a T, DEAREST, Scooter, SCOOTER. Or if you're in the pen and paper world, put up a poster or whatever, a sign in the laundromat and say, hey, if you can't sleep, check out Sleep With Me podcast. Or let me know how you let people know about it in a genuine, friendly way. I can't surprise anybody that's just like going up to random strangers or whatever, but that's not sleepy at all. But thanks so much for listening. And again, those are the two huge ways, because this is like, we've been building towards this, unfortunately. And this has never been a time where more people are no longer in a position to support the show. They've had to stop their support of the podcast. It's a time of, and just like everybody else, the podcast is in this place where it's like, man, this is really tough. But the beauty is we don't need to be in that position where it's like, what's going to happen here? I just got to get through to the people that have been putting it off. So you've been putting off supporting the show? Honestly, don't wait another second. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Sign up right now. Or if you've been putting off support, I love this Sleep With Me, I'll do it tomorrow. Come up with a plan to do it tomorrow. Spread the word and say, man, I want to be surprised by a scooter. Thanks.